Welcome to the Football Forecast, your ultimate guide to the NFL week ahead. Get ready as we dive deep into the biggest matchups, analyze key player performances, and break down the strategies that could make or break your favorite team's chances. Whether you're looking to dominate your fantasy league, make smart picks and bets, or simply stay ahead of the game, we've got you covered with insights and predictions. So buckle up, football fans. It's time to get your game face on for another action-packed week in the NFL. While only one team can hoist the trophy at the end, it all starts with the forecast. Welcome to the Football Forecast, Week 2. We're back after a decent first week for most of us. Tom Lavano, Ben Cruz, Anthony Ballister, I'm Nick Morgeson. Hopefully by the third week or fourth week, we'll have most of our people here, but we're assembling and getting that in process. But before we do that, make sure you follow our pages across the Empty the Bench network. You'll see them scrolling across the bottom. It's a lot of pages, so I'm not going to read all of them, but it's all our shows. But make sure you follow this show, the Football Forecast, at TFB Forecast ETB. We do have social medias this year. That's the one difference that we did not have last year. So now we have those. On top of that, make sure you follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. We are at 885 subscribers. We are very close, to 1,000 subscribers. Please help us get there. That changes the game. It changes the algorithm for YouTube. So please help us there. And if you can't listen on the video side, make sure you listen to Football Forecast wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Odyssey, YouTube Premium for on the audio side as well. So make sure you check all that out as well. And also, the Football Forecast is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. We now have Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. We did that. We did Jets 49ers on Monday night. We tested out Sunday Night Football with Lions Rams. And we are planning on doing Sunday Night Football Bears Texans. We do have Bears fans here, so the plan is to hopefully do that. Hopefully. So we're looking forward to all that as well. All right. Week 2. But before we get to week 2, let's quickly discuss what happened in week 1. We have our standings looking across the board in points. It looks like, am I reading this correctly, Tom? I had 22 points, so I had the most points for...
I'm actually, give me 1 second because I am pulling them up on my phone right now. Nick Morgeson, you had the most points with 22, followed by Grant at 21. Zan and Anthony both had 20. Nick DiMartino had 18. Ben, Pat, and I at 17. So it's like a 5-point or so range between everybody for the first week.
So we all had a decent first week. I wouldn't say anyone had a horrible week by any standards. What was very interesting, excuse me, by the way, was one lock was hit the entire first week. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that was Pat or not Pat.
No, that was... I actually don't think any locks were hit this week.
Oh, I thought there was one lock.
Let's see. Nick, hold on. Let me go. Nick, you had Texans. That's a no. I had Dolphins. That was a no. Zan had the Bills. That was a no because of the
6 points.
Hook.
Yeah,
the hook got him. Grant had the Dolphins with me. That's a no. Nick had the Bengals. That was a no. Ben had the Seahawks. No. Bills. Yeah, nobody had a lock.
Okay, so I mixed that one up. So nobody. That's the first time I've never seen a lock hit in our fantasy in our football forecast picks or our football Friday picks. Even I've never seen that before. So
I don't
that's
think
a
so.
rarity
No.
in itself. So, like we said, everyone's within 5 points. Wins and losses. I went 10-4-2, so that's wins, losses, and draws. Tom, you went 7-6-3. Zan went 9-5-2. Grant went 9-4-3. Nick went 6-4-6. Ben went 7-6-3. Pat went 7-6-3, and Anthony went 9-5-2. So
Yeah, the thing that got Nick basically was, and the reason I had so many draw and why it sounds like the lowest was because he had a few no covers, and basically those teams did end up covering.
So yeah, it was a very interesting week for some of the games. Some shockers, some not. By the way, I'm vindicated. By the way, with the Bengals, just saying.
It's 1 week. Relax.
I don't think they're going to win this week, but I'll save that for when we do the picks. All right, enough babble. Let's get into the games for week 2.
Yeah, let's do it. So starting things off, I'm going to pick as the main storyline for this week. The main game for this week is the 49ers versus the Vikings. The 49ers a 4.5-point favorite. And the reason I know the Vikings ended up getting the win over the Giants. I know the Vikings have Sam Darnold, but they are not the storyline here. The reason this game is the main storyline is because for the second week in a row, Christian McCaffrey has been ruled out. So it looks like it's going to be another Jordan Mason week. And now Shanahan is already talking to the media that even though they were initially not going to do it, they are tempted to potentially use the IR on Christian McCaffrey.
Now, let me just explain one thing in case people don't understand that. So there's temporary IR and then there's full season IR. Temporary IR is 4 games minimum that you have to be on the IR, which is what they're looking at.
Would McCaffrey, would the 2 games he's already going to be missing count towards those 4 games?
I don't think so. I don't think so, no.
So he would be out till like week 7.
At least week 6 or 7, depending on when he goes on the IR.
That's pretty brutal for the 49ers, considering how much of a workload Christian McCaffrey puts into this team. But you know what? They still look strong week 1. They still have, all their receivers. Brock Purdy still has a bunch of weapons around him. And let's be real, Jordan Mason absolutely delivered in week 1 on Monday Night Football. So
you're lucky you hooked him in your fantasy.
I think that's probably going to end up being, out of all my fantasy leagues and all of its moves, the move that basically my best move of any week. I cannot believe, I picked him up expecting, okay, I'm just going to take a whim at it. And then all of a sudden, 2 or 3 touchdowns later, and I end up being Zan by a point.
Well, here's the crazy thing about this also. Now that, because you have to take gambling implications and all this stuff. If you listen to the press conference after the game of Jordan Mason, I think the 3 where I'm going with this.
Yeah, it's the controversy that he said he knew that he was starting on Friday.
That's bull. If you knew you were starting Friday, that should have been out there that he was starting. That's a huge gambling red flag right there, knowing that gambling is huge in the NFL. You can't come out on Monday night and say, I knew I was starting Friday.
And it was also the way he said it too. He's just like, yeah, guys, I was starting Friday. And we're just like, all right, you're just going to say this now and it's the last game of the week. It's like something didn't add up there.
I mean, and here's the other thing. He got mad at the press conference because people were saying, did you expect to have a game? Did you expect to get all these carries? Were you expecting to start? Dude, you were not supposed to be the starter. You're not allowed to be upset. At least that's the way I see it.
Well, we got the 4. Well, you know what? He's going to have another opportunity. And as long as it sounds like McCaffrey does go to the IR, I mean, that would put McCaffrey on the IR. Elijah Mitchell early in the preseason, was already put on the season-ending IR. So really, he is going to be the backfield for the 49ers. But as long as he continues to deliver in the way that he delivered last week, I mean, remember when Kareem Hunt had his breakout in 2017? If he can go on that kind of track, given everything that's going on with the 49ers and the fact that all their receivers are still there, once McCaffrey comes back, then you have an opportunity for a solid 1-2 with him and Mason, all those receivers. I think the 49ers, even if CMC is hurt, will be okay. I think they will be maybe not as dominant as people think, but still will be okay. And as far as this matchup goes, I mean, congratulations, Minnesota. You managed to trample a team with Sam Darnold as your quarterback. Unfortunately, it was the New York Giants. And the New York Giants and the San Francisco 49ers are two completely different worlds here. So there's no way that I can buy the Vikings beating a team like San Fran, especially a team that was supposed to do well, that still has all those weapons around it. I think I'm gonna go with the 49ers here, but you know why I'm
I know. Oh, so Ben and Anthony were not here last week, so obviously we still have the lock rules in play. But here's the deal with the locks, because we had some issues last year with you would make a lock and then you would see a game that you like and then you want to change the lock. Once the lock comes out, and we have a lock sound effect, when your lock, you confirm your lock, there's no changing your lock once you pick your lock this year. So you better, if you pick your lock, you better like your lock this year. So, Tom, what are you doing?
Because there is another game I like on here.
So do I.
There's another game I like on here. I think you and I have two different. Potential locks when it comes to this one. You know what? Screw it. I'll be the first prediction of this week, and I'll use the lock out here. My lock is going to be the 49ers over the Vikings.
There you go. There's your lock. Wow, I wasn't expecting a lock right off the bat, to be quite honest. I mean, I guess I'll just go next. I think the Vikings, just caught a crappy team. Sorry, Tom.
Don't apologize. I said they were.
No, I'm just saying. But Daniel Jones is a dumpster fire mess. And I think if he's not careful, he might not be on this team next year.
Unless he gets hurt.
Well, yeah, that's true. I forgot about the injury guarantee. Yeah, this one's easy. I'm not going to use a lock, but I'll take the money on it.
Yeah, for me, I'm going lock.
Yes. I feel better now.
I really like this matchup for the Niners. They're getting their revenge from last year as they actually lost to them on Monday Night Football. But I just think that Sam Darnold is due for a letdown after a really good first week. The Niners defense is a defense that will, I think, start having him see ghosts, early and often in this one. So, and I also think that, even without Christian McCaffrey, this is, to me, I think they could cover this for sure. I think they'll win by within 10, 13, 14 points. So I'm going to go with the Niners to cover, and it's also my lock of the week.
Okay. Anthony?
Yeah, I'm going to go the 49ers as well to cover. You mentioned CMC's injury, and obviously, Christian McCaffrey is the best running back on the planet when healthy. But Kyle Shanahan always has a good running back. Even if you look back at his father, his father, Mike Shanahan, always had a great running back. So the system's always going to produce a great running back no matter who you have. Now, when you put a guy like Christian McCaffrey, now you get something that's even better than that. But they're still going to be good. They're still going to be efficient. I was definitely very impressed by Jordan Mason. We definitely got to give the Vikings credit. Their defense played great. I know it's against the Giants, but at the end of the day, they're still playing NFL caliber players. But yeah, the Vikings caught lightning in a bottle. They got no shot this week. I don't think against the 49ers. So I think the 49ers win, and I think they cover.
Are you locking it or no?
No.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Half on that one.
I mean, that's the thing. I think the reason I went with this one over my other one when we get to is that the line. This is a much lower line. It's a little easier to land the lock on this one. Next one we're already gonna bring out a fast track that there are gonna be fast track is gonna be called last week, and this one is going to basically be in and out. We have the Ravens hosting the Raiders -8. The -8 is what trips me up.
Me
I think
too.
the Ravens, without question, this is a easy win for them. At the same time, it's like I don't know if an 8-point game, the -8 kind of scares me. I went first last time. Anthony, let's go to you this time.
You know, I'm going to go Ravens, and I'm going to go to Ravens to cover. They had a very, very close, controversial loss last week, and usually when that happens on national television, those teams come back fired up. And we've seen Baltimore and Lamar Jackson blow plenty of teams out before, so give me Ravens to cover this week.
All right, Ben, fast track pick.
Yeah, as much as that line kind of scares me, I think that this is a get-right game for the Ravens, especially after what happened last week. They're going back home. I think that the Raiders aren't a very good team against the run. They're a very good running, heavy power type of team. As much as that line scares me, I think that they're going to cover this, and I think they'll win by like 10 points.
All right,
Yeah.
do you feel any better?
I mean, I'm comfortable with this line for the most part. I mean, it's a little scary. Like, I agree with everybody. It's not like they have Josh Jacobs from last year, who's now on the Packers. They don't have their all-time, well, not all-time, but their rushing leader from, I think he was the rushing league leader last year, I think.
He's up there.
Their quarterback situation is what it is. He's more of a playboy than a play on the field.
Mitch Mania running wild, brother.
Don't get me wrong. I like him. I think he is going to survive based on being a veteran quarterback who can fit into any possible team as a backup guy. But the Raiders are a bad team. And I think the Ravens, like Anthony had said, I think they're angry. They're going to come out. They want to win. They lost by a freaking toe on national TV. Okay, so I think this is a get right game. Take the money.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with all you guys. This is a get right game. They're definitely gonna have a fire under them. The fact that you're all going with the take the money kind of makes me a little more comfortable with this. So I will also take the money on the Ravens. All right, this is the other game I was very curious about using my my lock on. That's Cowboys hosting the Saints with the Cowboys as a -6 favorite. I mean, this, again, you go back to last week. It was an absolute devastation. I knew the Panthers were going to lose. I did not expect in the way that they did. But you're going from the Panthers to the Cowboys. So
unless you're Colin Cowherd, who took the Panthers to win outright in week 1.
Freaking moron. That's what he is.
I'm not even kidding. You can go look his pickup. He literally did it on his radio show. He's like, I'm taking them literally outright to win. And I was like,
crazy.
That is seriously just. Hold on a minute. There has to be a sound effect that I can use for this.
Oh, I got one for you.
Get all the failure.
Okay, that works. Nick, what's your pick on this one?
I mean, for the most part, I feel like this is pretty obvious. The thing that threw me off in week 1 was the 47 points that was scored by the Saints in week 1. Alvin Kamara, I think, had 2 touchdowns, maybe 3. I can't remember. But it was you have a touchdown and you have a touch. It was the Oprah method of scoring points. You get a touchdown and you get a touchdown and you get a touchdown. Like, the Panthers are bad. I said this in our NFL preview shows. I think Bryce Young has the chance of being cut after this year for how bad I think they're going to play. Now, the Cowboys are known to have flops from time to time. We've seen it. But how do you not pick the Cowboys to cover? I think they're way better in this matchup. Take the money.
Let's go to Ben.
Yeah, you guys might be surprised about this, but I think that the Saints are going to take the +6 here. I'm not saying that they're going to go outright, but I think that the Saints and the Cowboys both had blowouts, and I think that they're both for regression in this overall game. So I think that this is going to be a line. If it was -3 for Dallas, I think that Dallas covers this one, but I think it's going to be less than 6 here. Something just tells me that it's going to be close. I do think Dallas is going to win, but I think that the Saints are going to take the +6 here. So,
wow.
Okay, Anthony.
I'm going to take that.
I'm going to agree with Ben. I think the Cowboys will win, but I'm going to pick the Saints with the points. The Saints are a really gritty team. I know Derek Carr is a little hit and miss. When he's on, he's on, and when he's off, he's off. You kind of got to ride the roller coaster of Derek Carr. But this team does have weapons. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is one of the best running backs in the league when he's healthy. But when you look, the Saints have a really great defense.
I want to preface one thing, by the way, to show you that Vegas can be completely off on spreads. Tom, if you remember in week 1, the Cowboys and the Browns, the spread was Browns minus 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
That's why spreads can be very interesting when it comes to the world of Vegas when they pick. I feel like that one was so wrong to me. Now I feel like they actually got this one right. We'll just see how close this game actually is. So, see what happens.
Yeah. I want to believe in the Saints, and I've been on record. We mentioned Alvin Kamara. I said how much of a bounce back season he needed. But again, it came against the Panthers. Cowboys, I feel like the Browns are still a legit team, so that win kind of really showed me something with the Cowboys. So I am going to go with the Cowboys, and I actually will say, take the money. And I will say, before you hit a sound effect, Nick, I will say...
About them Cowboy.
Damn it.
I was a little ahead of you on that one. Going on out over to our next game, another fast track pick. Speaking of the Panthers, playing host to the LA Chargers, who actually managed to win their first game of the season under Jim Harbaugh. So
I'm going to ask a quick question, just because this is one of those games where I feel like for the most part we really could just pick this game. Are we all on the same page with this game or no?
Yes.
I think in the direction that I think we're all going to go in.
Okay, can we just make this simple? Because I feel like there's really no analysis to this game whatsoever. Are we all?
Are we all in agreement that we're all going Chargers? Take the money.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
1, 2, 3. Take
the money.
There you go. There's your fast track.
Okay, out of the fast track and onto our first video of the week. Nick, would you do the honors?
Which game are we doing?
We are going to do your game, if you know what I mean.
Oh, goody. Okay, here we go.
I think that image really speaks 1,000 words about this game. Just that image really just speaks 1,000 words about how last week went for the Jets Jets. But don't worry, you actually get a better matchup this week when you gotta play the man of Mayo in Tennessee.
Yeah, every time that makes me sick every time I hear that reference. By the way, I was completely right about week 1. By the way, that they were going to get pummeled on Monday Night Football. No one believed me.
Let me preface this, Nick. You were playing the defending NFC champions. You were playing a team that was one drive away from the Super Bowl. So, of course you were going to lose. But you can't tell me, as much as the Jets fan that you are, you really cannot tell me that you believe that the Titans are going to beat the Jets. No, Nick, don't you dare. Don't do it. Come on, man. Have some sense.
Hold on. Was there anything in that game? And Ben, you were there with me watching the game. Did you see anything with the Jets that remotely sensed any positivity in that game whatsoever?
No, but they, like Tom was mentioning, we were playing arguably one of the best teams in football. So, I mean, I will say, though, that the Jets' defense was a lot worse than I was expecting, at least over that first week. Because that defense, I don't think, is going to be one of the weaknesses, but they got ran over, at least in that first week. Now, obviously, I will say in this matchup, I really do like the Jets' defense to respond against a younger quarterback like Will Levis. So I will give my prediction, afterward, but I think that you guys are due for a bounce back after that.
I don't. I'm taking the Titans.
No! You're insane!
I don't know. I mean, heck, it's only the second week, so if he feels that.
I'm taking the Titans here. So I'm taking the Titans plus 3.5. I have no faith in this team right now after the way they played in game one. Aaron Rodgers looks slow. He was not throwing the football.
Yeah.
No air under the football whatsoever. Garrett Wilson dropped like 3 or 4 passes that were right in his hands. I mean, the running game was nowhere to be found. The defense, like Ben said, it looks slower than a tortoise in the hair. I mean, like, that's how slow that it looked out there. Sorry, Titans upset.
Okay, I'm going to be completely disagreeing with you, and I'm going to say Jets take the money. And the reason for that is because, you know what, against the defending NFC champions, you still put up nearly 20 points. And the Titans, I know they nearly won last week, but you were playing a Bears team that was starting a rookie quarterback. And basically, the only reason the Titans ended up losing that game was because of the Bears defense, not because of the Bears offense. So the Titans to perform as they did against the Bears, as that old Shania Twain song, that don't impress me much. I need to see something against the Jets for me to believe anything in the Titans. I still think the Titans are one of the worst teams in this league. I'm going to go with the Jets on this one. I'm going to take the money. Anthony,
Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Ben.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Jets taking the money here. I know that hook kind of scares me, and with the Jets defense playing last week, I think personally that they just had a really hard opponent for the first week to come out of the season. I don't think that defense is as bad as it looked from last week. The Titans offense specifically legitimately lost in the game up 17-3 or whatever against Chicago. So I think that they're going to have a really rough year. I know that they brought in Tony Pollard and some other guys, but that Jets defense, I think Aaron Rodgers has a better week. I don't know if he's going to go crazy per se, but I think that it's a much favorable matchup for him. And I just think that offense and that defense has a really complementary game. I think they'll win by 7 points. Take me the money.
All I gotta say is get that sound ready for the lock of the week, because I'm going to Jets this week as my lock of the week.
The line is low enough.
I think that game by the defense was an anomaly. I think the Jets defense has been great the last few years. Honestly, I think for the most part, Aaron Rodgers was doing what he had to do. He was hitting the receivers. They just were dropping passes and making mistakes. I don't think Breece Hall is going to play that bad again. I think the players are going to respond. They're seeing what the media is saying about them. They're going to be really highly motivated, like I said before, about other teams. I think the Jets are going to be ready to go. I do think, for the Titans, I feel bad. Their defense played good, and overall their team played good. And Will Levis just basically threw that game away for them. And that definitely had to hurt. They were there were a team that had no expectations coming the year. And if they could have started off 1-0, that would have gave them so much momentum. And I think that was a tough loss for them to come back from. And I think the Jets are going to be ready to capitalize on that. And I see the Jets winning by 10 points or more.
I just want to give one more fun fact about the Caleb Williams start also against the Titans. I think they said it was like one of the first times that a number 1 overall quarterback didn't throw for 100 yards during the game. Also, that was another stat that was going around. So Tom was right. They clearly won that on defense and special teams, the Bears, because they were getting nothing from Caleb Williams in that game whatsoever. Wow, I'm the Jet fan, and I have no faith in my team whatsoever sitting here.
Yeah. And I'm the Bills fan.
Well, and I'm the Giants fan. We'll talk about the Bears in a little bit when we talk about Sunday Night Football, but let's move on to another matchup. The Lions coming off a thrilling overtime victory over the Rams on last week's Sunday Night Football. They'll be hosting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a 7.5 point spread in their favor. Anthony, start us off.
Obviously, I think the Lions are a much better team, but against a playoff caliber team like the Buccaneers, that's a lot of points to give up. In the National Football League, these games are usually settled by 3 or 4 points. And against a good Buccaneers team, I know they didn't play against a great opposition last week, but they still got great players. Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans are still clicking on all cylinders. I love their running backs. So I do think the Lions are going to win, but that's way too many points. So give me the Buccaneers with the points.
Okay. Lions win, but taking the Bucs at plus 7.5. Ben.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers at plus the points and have them win outright. I think something to me in this one, Baker Mayfield had a 4-touchdown game last week. I know obviously he faced the Commanders, but the Lions last year, played in week 2 at home. They faced the Seahawks, and I picked the Seahawks week 2 in Detroit. And Seattle was able to win that one. So I'm riding the trend of this year. Tampa Bay gets their revenge, by the way, of last year against them in the playoffs. I think the Lions still are a very solid team, and I wouldn't be shocked if they won. But I'm going to go with my gut here. I think that they're going to take the points, and I have them winning outright. My upset.
All right, Nick.
Interesting. I'm with Anthony on this one. I definitely think the Lions are going to win. The points are a lot. The Lions play a lot of close games, which is kind of shocking considering the amount of games that they win. But the Buccaneers are not a slouch. Like, they can play good football. Now, Ben talking about the 4-touchdown game for Baker Mayfield, I think that's a little bit of an anomaly, a little bit.
But you also have to think about how he played at the end of last year's season, too. He played really, really well, and it wasn't their fault specifically that they lost because of him. I mean, I know that he had that turnover at the end, but all in all, a lot in the playoffs, he did really well, and I think that he's really kind of grown into himself of playing really good with them. So I'm just riding it overall against a team that he was this close against last year, and I think that it gets over the hump this year.
Yeah, so like I said, I think it's going to be a close game. I think these two teams are going to be the Lions will be great. I don't know about the Bucs. The Bucs are a question mark for me right now. They could win a ton of games or they could finish 500. I don't know. So I'm taking the Lions, but Bucs plus 7.5.
Yeah, watching how they performed last week, I was a little harsh on the Buccaneers when it came to my NFC preview. The way that they performed in week 1, I know it came against the Commanders, but they looked like maybe that they hadn't lost a step after last season. Now, obviously, going from the Commanders to the Lions, again, we're talking about the elevation, that there are levels to this league. But, the Lions have shown their moments of weakness. And when you've got Baker Mayfield, maybe throwing 4 touchdowns a game is an anomaly, but they still got solid running in Rachaad White. They still have Godwin and Evans. So you know what? I'm going to be in agreement with Anthony and Nick. I'm going to go with the Lions to win, but I am going to take the plus 7.5 on the Buccaneers. So there's that game, and then we are going to move on. Another interesting storyline of this week, one that I think maybe we should have talked about a little sooner, which is my bad. Colts Packers. It's in Lambeau. The Colts, however, a -3 favorite, and it all stems from the fact Jordan Love is going to miss some time. Again, I said it on ETB Sports. I'll say it here. I cannot believe that this man managed to avoid an ACL season-ending injury. Pardon me. So, but it looks like right now it's going to be the former Titans quarterback in Malik Willis starting things off for Green Bay. I know Green Bay was in contact with I think it was Ryan Tannehill as of late, but I haven't heard any movement on that. So right now, Colts -3, looking like Malik Willis will be starting here. Ben, how about you start us off with this one?
Yeah, so I mean, in this one, you would think that going to Lambeau, of course, it's a really tough place to play, which it is. But Jordan Love being out is just a massive, massive blow to them. I know their defense is obviously really strong, but the Colts are just coming off of a really, really close one, just like the Ravens were against Kansas City. Obviously, they're a close one against the Texans. And Anthony Richardson, I think, all in all, played a pretty solid game. I think in this one, he has a very good game once again against a really tough Packers team. But I think the reason why I'm going to go with them to cover is because the Packers are just going to be without their starting guy. Maybe specifically Jordan Love played, it would change a little bit of my thinking. But I think that Malik Willis is first start in a long time. I think it's going to be a rough one all in all. So I think that the Colts are going to take the -3 and the cover.
Okay, Nick.
This is an interesting one because if Jordan Love starts, I think the Packers are the clear favorite by far. I don't think we're even talking about the Colts being close. Now, Anthony Richardson and the Colts shocked me in week 1, the way that they played. They played a lot better than I really thought they were going to. Again, looking at their weapons, was it Pittman? He didn't really get a ton of receptions in game 1, which was kind of shocking to me. He's their top target, and they're not throwing him the football at all. It was a lot of Jonathan Taylor running, and that was it.
Alec Pierce.
Oh yeah, Alec Pierce too.
Mhm.
I don't think he really saw the football that much either.
Johnny Mitchell.
Yeah, so like I was kind of surprised that Richardson's not really using his weapons more because he has really good weapons around him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the injuries that kind of scare me more than his weapons outtake. I think Lambeau, like Ben said, is a tough place to play. It's one of the toughest in the league to play in, regardless of who the quarterback is or not. But no Jordan Love. I think it's a whole different scenario. So I'm going to lean with the Colts on the road to take them.
Yeah, this one is a little interesting to me because when I was on ETB Sports with Zan earlier this week, I said, you know what? This looks like it still can be a win for the Packers, given that they're in Lambeau, given that, Anthony Richardson and his team, you guys talked about not utilizing the weapons in full. This is a little bit of a tough one though, because on one hand, I'm not a fan of Malik Willis. I seriously am not. But on the other, the Packers still have Josh Jacobs. The Packers still have all those really solid young receivers. So I don't know if that, Malik Willis is a downgrade, no doubt about it. I don't know how much it really is going to. I don't know how much it's really going to affect it when there is still that team. There is still that team around them.
I'd almost see this as a coin flip, almost.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, Alec Pierce actually ended up getting more receptions than Pittman, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? As much as the Colts impressed me last week, it's still Lambeau. Packers still have a solid defense. They still have some young, great weapons. I'm going to go with an upset on this one and go with the Packers.
I'm not surprised. I mean, I could see this going either way.
Yep.
All right, Anthony.
Yeah, this is definitely, I think, the hardest one to pick so far of all the games we talked about. I really was going to pick the Colts. I really was. It makes sense. Anthony Richardson does have some talented weapons. He's due for a bounce back, win. They definitely need a win, obviously, in a big way. But Matt LaFleur is a really, really smart offensive coach. And, yeah, I'm not a fan of Malik Willis either. The Packers do got some great offensive talent, but, Malik Willis probably won't be able to utilize them, that much as you would like. But we've seen, when you have a quarterback that comes in for their first game, if you got a smart offensive coach, usually that first game they can kind of coach him up, kind of catch the defense off guard. And a lot of times we'll see these guys play good for 1 or 2 weeks, and then teams will start to figure them out. But, for the first game when Malik Willis coming in, seeing how, Matt LaFleur is going to use him, it's going to be hard for the Colts to game plan for that. So, in Lambeau Field as well, I'm going to go with the Packers too.
Oh, okay. What are we, 50-50 again on that?
Yeah.
It'll probably 50 split out of all of us, honestly.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Like Anthony said, it's a hard one to really pick given the whole situation. You know what's a game that's not going to be hard to pick? It's going to be the Seahawks against the Patriots. Seahawks -3.5 favorites. Ben, yeah, I had to. I'm sorry, but we'll start with you, given you're the Pats fan of the bunch of us.
All right, so this line I think is disrespectful. This is not even me being biased, but I think all in all, it's the first home game for the Patriots. They just had a very impressive win last week in their first game in Jerron Mayo's tenure against Cincinnati. Seattle's going to be without Kenneth Walker, one of their bell cow guys, and Seattle is a run-heavy type first offense. I think that this Patriots team, the way that that defense faced last week against Joe Burrow, in terms of that offense, I think that this offense with guys like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and JSN, they have a very good offense, but I don't trust Geno Smith. I just don't. I think that this defense specifically gets on him and gets on him early. And also, too, guys, the Seattle offensive line has some guys beating up as well, too. So I think that's also a massive thing as well for the Patriots. I'm going to go with the upset here. This is not even me being biased. I feel really good about this Patriots team going into week 2 after a really impressive week 1. So I think that the Patriots win, and they just win an upset outright.
All right. Nick, how do you feel about this?
Believe it or not, I agree with Ben. Actually.
Hey.
Well, and again, this is not me shitting all over the Bengals because I love doing that. I think that was a statement victory last week. It's hard to say statement victories in week one of a 17 game season, but I think the Pats are going to build on that. And like I said, I know the whole Geno Smith history. I do. It's up and it's down and it's up and it's down, especially when he's getting beat up for a plane ticket and his money. So I'm with Ben on this one. I'm taking the Patriots as an upset.
Okay, I think you guys are a little bit insane. I know, Nick, you love to shit on the Bengals all you can. I think the Pats, I think the Bengals underperformed, so I can't say the Pats got lucky. That being said, Ben, for those reasons, for those names that you mentioned, I know Geno Smith is not everybody's favorite quarterback, and I know he tends to have its ups and downs, but I'm still going to believe in the Seahawks a hell of a lot more than I'm going to believe in the Patriots. Patriots had that week one victory. We'll see how it fares against a team like Seattle. So I'm still going to go with taking the money on Seattle.
Anthony? Yeah, I'm going to go with Seattle this one too to cover. Obviously I was definitely very impressed with, the New England Patriots a week ago. How could you not? But if you look at it, I think one difference between last week and this week, obviously, they only really had Jamar Chase to throw to. So you really only had one receiver, that you really had to stop. And this one, you got DK Metcalf, you got Tyler Lockett, and you got Jackson Smith and Jigba. So, yeah, you got Christian Gonzalez, who's going to do his best to shut down DK Metcalf, but you're going to have to worry about the other guys as well. So I'm going to go with Seattle. Obviously, Ben did mention about Kenneth Walker's injury. Obviously, that is a tough injury. He is a great player. But I like their backup in Zach Charbonnet. I think he's one of the better backup running backs in the league, and I think he'll be serviceable enough for them to get the win and cover the points. So give me the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay. Did also forget about that the Bengals were playing down a receiver last week as well.
And I will say this. I mean, this is not even me to shit on Seattle. I think this game could really go either way. Mike McDonald is also a very good defensive-minded type of coach that Seattle has that. So I think that it could be a game. It could be a long game for the Patriots offense. I thought all in all, though, the Patriots offense did enough last week. It's all about can they build it up. But I'm doing this more in favor of it's at home. It's with the fans coming in. And I think that the defense has some big turnovers, just like they did last week, to be able to pull this out. So we'll see what happens.
If this was the opposite, I probably would have leaned the other way much more on Seattle. If they were,
if it was in Seattle, I'd probably go with them too.
So we'll see.
All right. To the game that I really do not want to talk about. And it is the Giants at the Commanders in Washington with the Commanders as a -2 favorite. And it really sucks to talk about this game. You know why? Because the Giants should win this game. They really should. They have made, even throughout all the years where Philadelphia has spanked them and Dallas has spanked them, they have constantly made Washington, suffer. Unfortunately, the way the Giants played last week was just
suffered on your end.
I mean, you were done after the first half.
Probably. I think I was done after the first quarter.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The
quickest pick six in NFL history too.
The Giants guys have not scored one passing touchdown in week one or any of the preseason games.
Oof.
They have not scored one passing touchdown.
That's bad.
For that reason, I hate to do it. This is, how I have, Nick, those prove me right or prove me wrong games?
Yes.
This is to my Giants, prove me wrong. Prove to me that you can still make Washington you know what. Because if you lose to Washington, I don't care what type of young talent that they have in Jaden Daniels or Terry McLaurin. If you lose to Washington, your season's over.
Okay,
you might as well.
That was going to be my question to you. Are you sounding the alarms if they lose?
Yes.
Okay.
Honestly, if the Giants go 0-4 in a month, which I think they will if they lose this game, I think in October you bench Daniel Jones.
I was going to say that. Yeah,
I think you do.
If he goes 0-3 or even 0-4, I think you've got to bench him.
Because at that point, when we were doing the preview, the whole NFL preview with the hot takes, my hottest take was that it would happen around just after Thanksgiving because if you remember, Nick, in 2017, that's when they tried to bench Eli Manning.
I do remember.
But if you're going 0-4 and you have draft picks on the line, potential quarterback future on the line, who knows what happens with Dable and Shames, considering, that they could have their say of quarterback, because again, Daniel Jones is a product of the Gettleman system. At that point, given the injury clause in the contract, you can't take the chance. You would have to make Drew Lock the starter at that point. So this is again, prove me wrong. Prove to me that that's not going to happen. But as at this point, I'm going to take the Commanders to take the money, and I feel absolutely sick for doing so.
What a Giant fan you are.
Excuse me, Mr. Jet fan, that you constantly go against your own team. You're one to talk.
I had to take a pot shot since you've already done it to me. It's okay.
Anthony.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Giants in this one. I think they're going to bounce back. Honestly, with Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, no one's really expecting them, to win. When they lose, no one's really upset about it. But, the Giants, when they got blown out last week, that was the talk of the week. You go on Twitter and everybody's saying, get Daniel Jones out of there. And rightfully so. I've also, Daniel Jones has definitely had, some bad games and some bad years. Obviously, he never had a true offensive line or a true number one receiver. But this year, there's no more excuses. He's been there for way too long. It's either get it done or get him out of there. And it's, do or die for him right now. I think he's going to go out there, play for his job. I think, he'll have some good moments. I think he'll use his legs in this one. So I think the Giants will get this one.
Anthony, I can't beg to say how much I hope you're right. And I please. Ben.
Well, before I get into my pick, I was going to ask, why is this not a fast track game? And
my rant is why it's not a fast track game.
and you could also make an argument that this is going to be up there early for the toilet bowl. Sorry, Tom.
Ouch.
But I will say this: the Giants in the past years have had very good success against the Commanders, and I'm going to ride that out. I think that it's going to be. I think that the Giants are going to go +2 here on the Commanders. I think all in all, too, I think that Daniel Jones does have a better game, all joke considered. I think it's going to be great, but I think that the Commanders are just a very, very young team. I just can't trust them right now, still currently. And I think all in all, the defense, Tom, for the Giants has a much better bounce back, too. So I think that with that kind of thing, all things considered, the Giants also play really well there, too, for some odd reason as well. So I'm just going to go with my gut. I think the Giants are going to bounce back here. So I'm going to go +2 with the Giants.
Well, before Nick makes his pick, because I know in the direction that he goes, Anthony and Ben, if the Giants do lose this game, is the season over at that point?
Well, I think it's massive panic because the Giants, one, they have to have a short lease on Daniel Jones, and two, they just have a very, very overall tough schedule. So it's going to be very hard for them to – it's kind of the Patriots. They have kind of a really tough start. It's going to be really hard to kind of bounce back specifically if they have a really tough start. So I wouldn't say that the season's over if they lose, but I think that the panic will start to kind of hit after the second.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Nick, I think I know the direction you're going.
I mean, yeah, I'm leaning towards the Commanders just because of the way that the Giants looked like a garbage dump in week 1.
Hold on 1 second. Because you say that and because Ben mentions toilet bowl.
Well, they did play like shit in week 1. My point is, like, that team was an embarrassment in week 1. Daniel Jones couldn't even throw the damn football. That was one of the quickest pick sixes I've ever seen.
Oh, that was insane.
That was horrific.
I mean, this is not any different than what, Tom, you and I talked about last year about the Giants, how the offensive line is a mess. They're not defending anything. He's rushing his throws because he has no time to throw. I mean, the way I look at the season for the Giants this year is the way Daniel Jones, what was the phrase I was going to go? With Daniel Jones and his dating life. It's secret and it's locked.
Oh, God.
Basically that it's a secret. We have no idea what's going to happen. And then when the rumors start coming out, we'll eventually find out what's going to happen. So if you heard the dating rumors that he's apparently dating Kay Adams from FanDuel and all that stuff and everything. Yeah. I think he's more worried about dating than actually playing on the field and scoring touchdowns. Oh, wait, he might be scoring a touchdown in the process, but I digress. But my point is, Commanders cover. This is not going to be close. I think this is going to be like maybe a 2-touchdown game, possibly. I think. Take the money.
All right. Going over to Jacksonville now. Down to Jacksonville. The Jaguars are -3 favorite against the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, Deshaun Watson, a big story, a big controversy target in week 1 as well, given his play and given his transgressions off the field, allegedly yet again. Nick Morgeson, you weren't here on ETB Sports for us to discuss that, but I'll let you have the floor.
I'll
let you have the floor for this one.
I mean, he's a jerk. What else do you want me to say? I mean, Ben might know this, but Anthony doesn't know this. Our social media account for Empty the Veg, our ETB Sports Show, got blocked. Got blocked by Deshaun Watson for the amount of jokes I made on Deshaun Watson for how much of a jerk he can be. And then I got blocked individually. I didn't even post anything on my individual accounts whatsoever.
Oh my God.
Like somehow I didn't get blocked.
He's blocking everybody because he doesn't want to admit the truths. Now, again, innocent until proven guilty, obviously. They've already taken it off the table that he's not going to be on the commissioner's exempt list, so we can take that off the table. On the other side of things, did you see that they did something weird with the naming rights in Jacksonville for Trevor Lawrence? They're calling it Trevor Bank Stadium. And Tom, I'm not making that up, so it's not a corny joke that I'm making. They're doing
Worry less about the nickname naming rights stuff, and worry more about your play on the field. And Tony, how about you worry about AEW's declining ratings?
Right, you're right. Again, I was shocked by the spread last week between the Browns and the Cowboys. The Cowboys were going to win that game. That's why that one threw me off. Just out of sheer hate for Deshaun Watson, I'm taking the Jaguars to cover just because I will not take Deshaun
Watson. Ben.
Yeah, I think that the Jags have a bounce back after their tough one last week. They had that game I wouldn't say in the bag last week, but it came down to a Travis Etienne fumble to essentially give the Dolphins the momentum to come back and do it. I think that this Browns team, with the way that Deshaun Watson looks, is very Daniel. I don't want to, cut Daniel Jones off. But it looked very Daniel Jones-esque of him being broken as a overall guy that can't really pass the ball at this point in time. I would say, Deshaun's kind of in that Bryce Young-esque at this point in time, which is crazy to think. Who would have thought that, 4 or 5 years ago? But yeah, this Jags team, I think, bounces back. They're back at home. I think that Trevor Lawrence has a really good one. And I think the Browns go to 0-2. They have a very slow start to the season. Take the money. Sorry.
All right. Anthony?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Jags in this one. Yeah, they had a heartbreaking loss. They should have won last week. I was definitely impressed by some of their young players like Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie wide receiver. This team definitely has some good players. I think Trevor Lawrence will bounce back. Obviously, Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and that great Browns defense will do the best to keep them in it. But obviously, I got to go with the Jags to win. It's a kind of a sensitive subject for me when it comes to Deshaun Watson. I'm not sure how big college football guys you are, or if you guys are in the high school recruiting, but I'm really big time in that, and I've been following it for a long time. And I remember back, in 2013, 2014, where Deshaun Watson was the #1 quarterback coming out of high school, and then he went to Clemson. He was so fun to watch. And then he went to Houston. He was so fun to watch. And then, bam, all this stuff happened. And it's unfortunate because I really looked up to Deshaun Watson, and I really loved his play. And after all the allegations, how can you respect and like a guy and root for a guy like that anymore? And it's just a shame that I can't ever root for Deshaun Watson. And, the Browns are a team that I don't mind rooting for. They're a team that's had a lot of bad luck. So I like to see luck go their way. But, as long as Deshaun Watson is their quarterback, it's really hard for them to root for him. I don't think Deshaun Watson, is nearly as good as he used to be. He's a shell of himself. And honestly, I think he's about a year from being out of the league. Once, Deshaun Watson is no longer with the Browns, no other team's going to bring him in. When you got all those allegations, you have to be a really, really great quarterback and be starting to put up with that. No one's going to bring that headache in as a backup quarterback So I think Deshaun Watson is going to continue this trajectory to go down. I think he'll be out of the league in a year, and I think the Jags will cover and win this one.
Now, I just want to say one thing. I agree with most of what he's saying. Are you even including all that guaranteed money? Even with all that guaranteed money, you're saying
And the dead cap hits.
And the dead cap hit too?
Yeah, I think that would make it obviously really tough. But I think after this year, I mean, we've seen teams like, Denver, be willing to take those dead cap hits. And I think after this year, I think, the cap hit obviously will still be, tough to hit. But I think for them, I think they have no choice. And if they draft a young guy and move on, they're not going to want Watson to be the backup either.
Not even Brown fans like him anymore, too, which is crazy. They're just like, get this guy out. We're not in favor of you whatsoever.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, and I kind of said it the other night. I think when I was talking with Zan on ETB Sports. I think the Browns fans really miss Joe Flacco now.
Wow, I never thought I'd hear those words.
And also to Nick Chubb too. Like Nick Chubb is essentially their main part of their offense. He's about 50-60% of their offense. You take him out, it's just a massive downgrade in terms of what they have offensively too.
That being said, there's no way I can follow Anthony. You guys are all saying this. I can't follow Anthony and the whole rant that he just had. You guys are all saying the same thing, that the Jags, after coming so close last week, are going to want to bounce back here. Yeah, pretty much. Take the money.
I think Anthony's 100% right, though. I think eventually, if he keeps going on this trajectory, he could be out of the league. But with $300 million plus fully guaranteed, that's an issue.
Yeah, and Browns management has been stubborn. At least ownership can be very stubborn when it comes to this. Yes, the Haslams. Let's go for a fast track pick here, guys. We're going to go with the Cardinals and the Rams playing. The Cardinals actually a 1-point favorite at home. Nick, quickly, your thought.
This is confusing to me. Like, I know the Cardinals lost on PI. I think it was PI, by the way, against the Bills. I think they could have won that game. Again, it's neither here nor there. I don't think the Cardinals are a great team. Give me the Rams. Obviously, I'm going to lean that way because of Cooper Kupp. But, give me the Rams +1.
Yeah, I know the Cardinals have the home field, and they didn't look terrible last week against the Bills. But to be quite honest with you, I think this is a little disrespectful towards the Rams, especially considering the way that they and the Lions had war on Sunday Night Football. Absolutely disrespectful. I'm going upset city on this one. Anthony?
Yeah, I'm going to go Rams. I think the Cardinals, I think everything that possibly could have went well for them in the first half. I don't think that's going to happen again. Puka Nacua, being out may hurt the Rams a little bit as well. But Sean McVay is not going to let the Rams lose again. So give me the Rams.
Ben?
Make it a clean sweep on the upset city.
Yeah!
I'm going with the Rams as well at +1. Another thing, too, guys, to take into this account, the Rams absolutely own the Cardinals. They've just been a team that's absolutely owned them for the last couple of years. Sean McVay, for some odd reason, just knows how to get into the heads of Arizona. And I agree with Anthony. I think that the Cardinals did pretty much everything that they could last week to pretty much unlock themselves, and they still came up short regardless if it was a PI or not. I will say, though, I do think Marvin Harrison Jr. gets more involved after just one catch last week. I would be absolutely stunned if that's not the case. But regardless if he does or not, I'm going with the Rams.
The one last thing I'll say is they missed Marvin Harrison Jr. on a wide open throw down the field. That probably would have been a game-winning touchdown if he sees the throw. So
I was going to say interesting things about that too when they asked him about it. He said something about me not being like the guy that's going to be like forcing the ball or something. Like, dude, like you're the quarterback. You're the one that
he was wide freaking open.
Oh, guys, I mean, for different circumstances, we're talking about Daniel Jones might end up becoming a backup at some point or be out of the league. Deshaun might be out of the league. Guys, I think Kyler Murray might be another year or two away as well from potentially moving to a backup role at best or out of the league.
And he's already got the Brinks truck backloaded to him already.
I know, but you can't. There were just some mistakes in that game that you just can't. Going on to our next game, I think we're in the 4:00 window. That was our first 4:00 game. There's only 3 4:00 window games this week.
I know.
Rams Cardinals was one.
They said the first couple of weeks, they said it was going to be a little bit of weird window scheduling.
Mm-hmm. Bengals Chiefs is next, and we have one more after this. Nick Morgeson, I want you to know something. I know you completely crap on the Bengals, and I know they played absolutely terrible last week, but they were down a man. I feel like that is not, the way they played last week was not emblematic of the way that they can be. And under most circumstances, I tell you, don't disrespect the Bengals. Except this week, they're playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm going to tell you to disrespect the Bengals. Take the money on this.
Yeah, really. I mean, I'm just going to go next because you know where I'm going.
Do it.
I'm taking the lock on the Chiefs. I mean, obviously, the Bengals scared me. Forget that T. Higgins didn't play in week 1. I think the chemistry is a problem still in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow looked awful. Like, not just down, he looked awful. How do you look awful, and sorry, Ben, against a Pats team that's not even supposed to be competing in the NFL this year whatsoever? You look awful. You can't tell me he didn't look awful. Right?
And the thing is, well, listen, he did. My point is, let's say they do bounce back. I don't know if they're going to bounce back with a win against, after coming off of the way that they played against the team that's going for the first three-peat in NFL Super Bowl history.
If you can't beat the Pats, you're going to
You're not beating the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
Ben?
Well, apparently the Bengals players, after the Bills game, beating them a couple years ago in the playoffs, they said they were going to go to Burrowhead. Well, they're going to definitely get a reality check in Burrowhead because the Chiefs are definitely taking the money here.
Yeah.
I understand specifically that they had a tough one last week against my Patriots, but the Chiefs specifically, they're just a really good team, and they're a really good team at home. I just think that it's really hard for Cincinnati to, pretty much look at last week and the way that they played. I will say I do think Joe Burrow has a better game, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think that the Chiefs are just too good, and with the way that they were offensively, Xavier Worthy brought a ton of dynamic to that offense. And he's going to be even more vital as now Marquise Brown Marquise Brown is going to be out for a long time due to IR, which we were talking about, funny enough, earlier on the show. So the Chiefs just have too many weapons. The Bengals defense didn't even look that great last week either. I thought the Pats offense was able to move pretty much the ball. So if the Pats offense can move the ball a decent amount, the Chiefs offense is just another level right now. Take the money.
And Anthony.
Do I think the Chiefs are the best team in the league? Yes. Do I think the Chiefs are going to win this game? 100%. Do I think the Chiefs are going to cover the points? No, I don't.
Whoa.
I think, the Bengals, they play the Chiefs, tight every time they play.
That is true.
They're not a division game, but it might as well be. They play each other every year, just like the Bills and Chiefs do every year. We're always going to see these matchups with these quarterbacks, just like we saw back in the day with Brady and Manning. Those were always close. Now you got Burrow and Mahomes, and these matchups are always close. I don't think you could take too much from last game. We said it earlier. The Bengals always start off slow. They're definitely, I think, going to bounce back. The Chiefs, obviously, having Hollywood Brown now is going to obviously, have to factor in at some point. They're not super deep at wide receiver. I know Xavier Worthy had his moments, but, a lot of his plays, were kind of just he really didn't get touched. What's going to happen when Xavier Worthy finally gets hit? So I'm not sure if he's going to get multiple touchdowns every game. Like I said, I do think the Chiefs are going to win. It does seem like the loss of Joe Mixon really hurt the Bengals. Obviously, there's a huge decline with the guy they brought in Zach Moss. But I think the Chiefs are going to win, but give me the Bengals with the points.
Okay.
That's interesting. Huh.
One other thing, guys. Did you hear that Troy Aikman might be interested in trying to get Taylor Swift to be on commentary Monday Night Football when the Chiefs play on Monday night this year?
Well, who would have loved that?
All you need to do is look at the reactions of Nick and Ben to see who wouldn't love that.
Oh God, I don't.
Well, they were at the last day of me working the U.S. Open, and thank God I did not see them because, man, I would have had a blank space looking at them specifically if I saw them.
Wait, wait a minute. I totally zoned out for a second. What did he say?
He said Ben, say it again.
I said that the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were at the last day at the U.S. Open that I was working, but I did not see them. But if I did see them, I would have seen a blank space if I saw them go past me.
Oh, you're causing me bad blood right now.
All right. Let's get to the other video because our last 4 o'clock game, guys, should be a revenge game. Unfortunately, roll the tape.
Steeler Nation, 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 Steeler Nation.
Doesn't hit as much though. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not
What
the same.
happened?
It's not the same as Broncos country, but
I know, but you know what? We were expecting that Russell Wilson was going to be the starter in Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, he did not even get to 1 week because of a calf injury. And as of a few hours before we started recording, it looks like Justin Fields is going to be in line for another start as the Steelers travel to Broncos country. Let's ride that's why I want to call it a revenge game. But if Russell Wilson isn't starting, there's no point to it.
this is a pretty bad game too.
That's why it's a fast track. And I mean, Anthony, you start us off.
Yeah, I obviously I wanted to say the Broncos. I want to pick Bo Nix and say Bo Nix and Sean Payton, come out and have a good game plan. But Mike Tomlin is going to have that defense fired up. When TJ Watt plays, the Steelers barely ever lose. And if TJ Watt's playing, I can't pick against the Steelers. I know they don't have any answer at quarterback, so it's probably going to be a very low-scoring, boring game. But I can't pick against TJ Watt, so give me Pittsburgh.
Did you see the way that TJ Watt, when he got that last tackle, when he got that sack of Kirk Cousins at the end of the game, that was emphatic.
Did you see he got flagged for one of his celebrations, though, last game also? Because the NFL is just no fun.
Yeah, no fun league strikes again. You know what? Anthony, I agree. It might end up being a very low-scoring game, but you know what? The Steelers defeated the Falcons last week via death by Chris Boswell field goals. It might as well just be the same this week. So take the money. Nick.
This is a pretty bad game. I think I'm pretty much going to lean on what Anthony said with the TJ Watt experience. That's really the way to go here. If he didn't have all those injuries over the years, he'd be one of the most dominant defensive players in all of the NFL. Yeah, the Broncos have, and I really want to see Bo Nix succeed also. I think once he's in the right system, because I think eventually he's not going to be in Denver at some point. I think he's going to end up somewhere in a better system down the line. Give me the Steelers, but I think it's going to be like below 20 points combined. That's my prediction on this one. But give me the Steelers to cover.
All right. Well, guys, I'm making it a clean sweep. I'm going to go with the Steelers here at 2.5. One crazy stat with you guys. So Mike Tomlin has a whooping 80% win rate against first-year signal callers. So he absolutely owns first-year quarterbacks. He's the third best mark in NFL history, only behind Hall of Famers of Don Shula and Hank Strom. So I'm going to go with specifically the Steelers, the way that overall stat is. One, because Mike Tomlin, I think, is a very good coach. But two, I just think that Bo Nix, and like you guys were saying, I want him to succeed. But I think that it's going to just take another week. I think that the Steelers front is going to get after Bo Nix and cause him some hell. So take the money.
Look at Ben Cruz dropping some knowledge and numbers on us here.
I did that for him for the cycle with Rod. I'm going to do it with you guys tonight, too.
There we go. All right. That brings us over, gentlemen, to Sunday Night Football this week. We've got Zen and Grant's team, the Chicago Bears, coming off of Caleb Williams' first victory in the NFL, traveling over to Houston, and they're going to have a challenge on their hands with C.J. Stroud and that damn Houston Texans all-around solid team, with the Texans a -6.5 favorite. Let's start with Nick Morganson.
Yeah, so obviously I like the Texans. I went very deep drafting fantasy-wise for the Texans. I go back to that stat I said earlier. Caleb Williams is one of the first overall quarterbacks to not throw 100 yards in his opening performance. I don't know. He looked very off offensively in the game. Like we said, the defense really carried them. There's some injuries for the Bears also. I think Keenan Allen might be out for this game.
Keenan Allen and Romazunze didn't practice twice this week, so I think more likely than not they'll be both out,
which is significant. Not having that veteran presence of Keenan Allen, I think, is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
The 6.5 is a big number. Of course, the Texans didn't cover last week, which hurt me on the lock. But this is a game I was looking at contemplating as a lock, but I felt the other choice I made was probably a little bit better. But I'm taking the Texans to cover. I just think the Stroud is way better than Caleb Williams in this regard.
Ben?
Yeah. Now I know that obviously that the Bears are going to be without Keenan Allen and Romazunze, but I'm going to go plus the points for the Bears. I think that hook, it does kind of scare me a little bit in this one. I think that the Bears defense is going to be able to cause a little bit of that second week of CJ Stroud a little bit of hell. I do think the Texans are going to win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. And I also think that Caleb Williams has a much better game despite him being without two of his receivers. So I know that obviously this number looks like it's going to be a straight cover, but I'm going to go with the Bears to take the points here, especially with being at night as well. I think that Caleb Williams shines a little bit more in this overall game, especially going against a quarterback that has a lot of potential in CJ Stroud. So I'm going to go with the Bears to take the points, but I do think that the Texans will win.
Anthony.
Yeah, I love the Bears defense, and I still ultimately think Caleb Williams is going to be a great quarterback. I think he had a slow start, but I still think he's going to win Rookie of the Year and have a great season. But I love CJ Stroud a lot more, and the Texans are a juggernaut right now. So, I'm going to be quick with this one. I love CJ Stroud, so give me the Texans to cover.
Also, before we move on from this game, we will be doing a stream. Also, what?
I didn't get my pick.
Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to cut me off at the legs there, Morganson.
I'm jumping the gun. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, you're jumping the gun on that one. Yeah, I completely love CJ Stroud. You guys know how high I am on Houston. You all looked at me with craze about how they could be an AFC Championship caliber team. I think last week kind of started to maybe prove my case a little bit. As far as the Bears, I agree with Anthony that I still think Caleb Williams could be Rookie of the Year. I think the problem, though, is if Allen and Odunze both don't play, you guys know my thoughts on DJ Moore, that he's talented, and I've always wanted to believe in him, but he just has not proven to me that he is wide receiver one material, and I think that's going to be really rough for Caleb if he's without two of his big three in just his second professional NFL game against a juggernaut like Houston. The Bears' defense and special teams is phenomenal, and it does scare me a little bit, especially given that hook. But given those injuries and given just how great Houston can be, I think it'll be closer than a dominant victory, so we're talking about. But I think it might be a barely cover, but I think the Texans ultimately will cover.
That's the thing is, if it didn't have that hook, I would have just gone with the cover there. But I think the hook does play a little bit in this one.
But okay. Yes, we are going to stream this game.
Okay, now that I can say what I want to say. Yes, we are doing a playback stream for this game. Sunday Night Football, Bears and Texans. We will be there, so make sure you tune in and stream. Be there or be square.
Mm-hmm. All right, one more game we got for this week. Monday Night Football this week, over to the city of brotherly love, as Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles play host to Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons, with the Eagles a -6.5 favorite. Ben.
All right, so it's a battle of the birds, and I know that the Falcons. I know that
it's a game for the birds.
Of course, it makes it the fun last game of the week too. So we'll see how that goes. But I do think that the Eagles have continued their winning streak here and go to 2-0. I think that they will cover. I know that obviously the hook from last game was a little bit thinking about it for that one, but I think with this one, Kirk Cousins, guys. Isn't he the one that always just did not show up in the bright lights? I'm pretty sure. So I think that the Eagles defense gets to him. And that's why I'm going with the Eagles to take the cover. Jalen Hurts, I think, also has a better game. I think he played great last week. Saquon Barkley was the show with 3 touchdowns. But I do think that Saquon Barkley continues another week I know. I'm sorry, Tom, but I had to be real as well. He had a fantastic first game. So I think that between Kirk Cousins not being great at night and with the Eagles being at home, Monday Night Football, they have a lot of weapons, and Saquon Barkley added to those weapons to what he did last week. Give me the money.
All right, Anthony.
Yeah, I think the Eagles are going to win this game, but the Falcons can't be as bad as they were a week ago, right? Their offense has to be better, right?
Yeah.
I hope so. So I'm going to go with the Falcons with the points. I think Kirk Cousins and Drake London and Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, those guys are just way too talented to have another, lackluster performance. Do I think it's going to be enough to win the game? No, I don't. But it is a lot of points. So Eagles to win outright, but give me the Falcons with the points.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Anthony, it's like the fact that they only scored 10 points last week and they don't have Arthur Smith. Now they have Kirk Cousins and they only got 10. It's like, no, this has to be week one jitters, right? You can't be telling me after all of this that this is going to be Atlanta's offense. And I know all the things about Kirk Cousins not being able to perform at night, at least on the football field. But look. I had to do that. It's Philadelphia. I think it's less for me about Atlanta and more about Philadelphia, because Philadelphia. I mean, look, guys. Last season, the second half of last season was just an absolute embarrassment for Philadelphia. And I think the way they play week one and the way they want to get off to a strong start early this season is to say, that collapse was just unacceptable, and it's not representative of the team that we are, especially when NFC East is going to be basically a two-team race between them and how about them Cowboy. So I think Saquon Barkley, you're right, had a very strong start. I think that Jalen Hurts and his team just always comes ready to play. They showed just the power of the offense that they have last week in Brazil. Yeah, give me Philadelphia to take the money on this one. And Nick, close us out.
Yeah, I'm leaning the same way. I have the Eagles covering. Saquon Barkley had a hell of a performance. What do you have? 3 touchdowns, I think, in week one in Brazil. I mean, the guy looked like he was ready to play. Now, I forgot who said it to me. One of you guys said it here. I think it's also that obviously being behind a better offensive line is going to allow him to be more aggressive. Because I said he looked way more aggressive on the field in week one than he ever did beyond the Giants' offensive line.
Now, one thing I will counter to that, Nick, is that they did seem to have some struggle under center, trying to replace Jason Kelce.
No, agreed. 100%. I agree totally with that whole scenario. I just think the offense, and you were asking about picks, I think Jalen Hurts threw 2 interceptions in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I will chalk that up to the field conditions were very poor because they were playing like on a soccer field with turf, and everyone was slipping on the field. So I don't know if I can blame that on all the players for what went down, because a lot of players fell over. They missed passes. It was tough. I'm not a Kirk Cousins fan at all. This guy keeps getting hundreds of millions of dollars and he doesn't win an important game to save his life whatsoever. So I think with all that, I'm taking the Eagles to cover.
All right. And that is going to put a close on our NFL Week 2 predictions.
We made it. All right. So another week in the books. Make sure you follow our show on social media at TFB Forecast ETB. Make sure you follow everything. We'll put all our picks up there. You'll get everything Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. We do our Thursday picks earlier before this premieres earlier in the week. You get all the biggest breaking news and stuff that comes in the NFL. Make sure you follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network, for not just this show, but all other shows that everyone is involved here at the network. Listen to Football Forecast wherever you get your podcasts. And the Football Forecast and the network presented by Playback. We will be doing a Sunday stream for Bears Texans, and we're working towards some other streams as well. So please check that out. But I think that just about does it. For Tom Lavano, for Ben Cruz, Anthony Ballister, I'm Nick Morgeson. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week for week 3.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the football this weekend.
Enjoy the football.